Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. And this is your host for My Spiritual Money RX. This is Vivian S. D. Guzman. How's everyone doing today? So, hope everyone's doing well. And I know with all these chaos going on in our world right now, we are live in this TV show. So, you can get the latest energetic report, so to speak, on what's happening. And we bring you live shows that are really relevant to you. So, what is My Spiritual Money RX? So, we know that a lot of people have the word money as a trigger, right? In fact, one time I was doing a class, it was a hands on healing class, and I was saying those words, right? Money, or I didn't say the word wealth, the different synonyms of it, but I noticed her face and her color started changing. And you can even see her mood dropping. And I realized for some people, that word is such a trigger. Even if, according to human design, we shouldn't really worry about money since 1781. And we know that right now the world keeps on changing. Really, there's almost no stability in the daily routine if you look at that. And even the routines that we used to do, it seems like it doesn't quite produce the same results, right? So in the past, we can rely on government, we can rely on authorities. Some of you rely on churches, religion, any other culture or tradition that you've done, and you would usually get the same results. But nowadays, it's very fascinating and interesting because nothing really happens to you at this time. It actually happens for you and with you, depending on your mindset, depending on also how your emotions are regarding that particular issue, situation, or person. And also, now everything is really dependent on how you are in relation to the world around you, right? So our goal today is to really bring you some form of that word stability is a good word, right? It's some form of certainty in your life, because nothing is really certain until you are certain of where you're going, what your purpose is, and then how are you going to get there. So today I'm actually going to bring in one of my human design instructors for our TW Academy, Transformational Wellness Academy, Pam Raynon, because she has been with us for a while and she can share with you her observations once people know exactly what they need to learn about themselves. So, hi Pam, how are you? Welcome to the show. We got to unmute you, Pam.
Sorry, good
There you
afternoon,
go.
everyone. I was saying good morning, so good afternoon, Vivian. Thank you for having me in this show again.
Yes, yes. So, today I wanted to share with the world, especially for those people that are transitioning from employee to entrepreneurship, right? It's like
Mm.
the journey and the three basic steps that they need to do themselves in order for them to really map out a plan or even a pathway for them to get there. Okay. So first of all, I want to share the screen. All right. Okay. So I shared with you thoughts, feelings, actions, and result. Okay. So we're going to start with that, right? Because we know that our beliefs are formed usually by how we grew up, what are we exposed with, our family members. That's the very first thing that we see, right? When we grow up in this planet. Now, Pam, do you mind sharing with them a little bit of how, let's say, thoughts, right? We know that a belief is just because it's a repeated thought, right? How has one belief about money influenced your ability to actually be you now, be yourself now? And you can mention a negative belief or a positive belief because both are, it has a weight, right? Okay, go ahead.
Correct. So, um, previous to doing some energy work, let me just put some story behind it. So, previous to
Yes.
that, I was always worried about not having enough money or not having enough resources to get money, right? I mean, I was working hard, but money was always an issue. So as I started doing energy work, and especially with you and learning more about human design, I realized, I don't know, it just came. And when I was looking at my design, it was like, hey, I don't have to worry about money. I'm provided for. And what they have
Yes.
said that in I think it was 1781 or 1871, like
Hmm.
we shouldn't be worrying about money. And if you think, the more I thought about it, it's like God gave us the abundance and the wealth. All we got to do is, work on it, right? You just got to do what you're here to do. And
Yes.
there should not be any thought of not even having enough or not having money. So I look at
Hmm.
the glass half full instead of half empty now. So that's how I look at it. Yeah.
Nice, nice, right. So usually when I ask people, right, what keeps you up at night? The number one thing that an employee would hesitate before they even jump, right? Like they know work doesn't fit for them anymore. But then they don't know what to do with it. So I noticed that when people don't know what to do with their life, then they freeze, right? We call it the paralysis analysis, right? Can you share a little bit about your journey about the paralysis analysis? Because I know there's such a thing, right? It exists.
Correct. So for me, like I said, I was in corporate for 13 years and I always wanted to own my own business. But the thing is, I know it needs a lot of capital. So to shift from a business, from an employee mentality to a business owner mentality, it took a
Hmm.
lot of work, right? But the main thing that got me, like you always ask me, is like you got to make that decision to do it. Because until you make that decision, then you're always going to be thinking like I got to go back to work, or I have, you go back to your comfort zone pretty much.
Yep.
And
Yep.
but when I made that decision to live up to my to what I want to be, which is a business owner, then everything changed after that, because then I was owning the
Yes.
space, and I
Yes.
was, yeah, I was, doing the things that I need to do in order for my business to take off,
Yes.
or to succeed. Yes.
Right. So I'm showing on the screen, decide, commit, and succeed. All right. Now I know the decision for most people is quite difficult, right? And the more you're able to narrow down that decision on what you plan to do about your business, let's say you really want to quit your job and you want to go into entrepreneurship, the only reason partly is you don't know how it looks like. And so today, what we're going to do is give you a little bit of the steps on how you can really get there. Okay. So I want to share this with you. All right. So fear. All right. So fear causes hesitation, and hesitation will cause your worst fears to come true. I'll repeat it again. Fear causes hesitation. You know how you want something, but then it doesn't quite have arms and legs, and so you don't know where to go. So then it'll cause your worst fears to come true. Now, we know that our mind is normally negative, right, Pam? Our mind will give us lots of information, and unfortunately, we figured out it based on this human design experiment, right, that we started sharing with our group. Our mind doesn't really tell us the 100% truth because some of the thoughts are not even ours. So I have an open crown center. Pam has an open crown center as well. So what's happening is we're picking up thoughts from other parts of the universe, and then when you make it your own, what happens, Pam? So you're such an expert when it comes to this the thoughts that fly and move and live in your head.
Yeah, well, I'm an overthinker. So when I started to learn and experiment using human design,
Mhm.
now it makes sense because, our mind is here to gather data, to observe the
Mhm.
environment, to observe experience.
Yep.
So it's not really meant to for you to use your mind to make decisions. You have what we call an authority to make that decision. So for me, it's just an eye opener where I don't have to rely on my head too much anymore, and just
Good.
be able to accept who I am and follow my authority to make those major decisions in life.
Yes. All right. So I'm going to share again another quote. It's funny because as I was preparing for this TV show today, I was looking for the things that, like held me back when I was actually making the decision to commit to my success, right? Remember the first slide I gave you was decide, commit, succeed. And we see it all over the internet, right? You see that
Mhm.
all the time. The thing is, if you haven't decided yet, or if you haven't looked hesitation between your eyeballs, right? You know how when you're afraid of a monster, but then somebody, let's say, hold you up in front of the monster and you realize it was just like an animated monster, it wasn't real. The reason that you could not really face your fears is because you haven't really sat still to look at it.
Correct.
Like you got to really look it between the eyes and say, who are you? Is it fear? Is it indecision? Is it hesitation? So there is this quote that I saw, which might be relevant for you guys. I want to share this. Hesitation. All right. So I know, I mean, Pam and I were talking about this the last few days, right? Because we just finished our new moon healing, which is to create the life we desire, last Sunday. And it was interesting because when you look at the relatives, your older relatives, you'll notice like how your mom and dad look at things differently. You'll notice how your aunties and uncles look at things differently,
Mhm.
even your grandma and grandpa, right? Because they all lived in different eras. They all lived in different situations and circumstances. So the people that kind of lived long time ago during a war, right? They're always afraid of something, right? Because there was a false sense of security with something, but then if that's taken away because of war or they're going to get killed, they will always hold that fear until they confront it right between the eyes and say, okay, I'm not going to be afraid of you anymore. Pam, would you like to share? Because you are in a household that actually has like the people in the 80s or 90s, and then you also have brothers and sisters that are older than you, right? Do
Yes.
you notice any, I guess, like general characteristics of people that are in their 80s and 90s? How do they think? How do they feel? Versus the older generation, right? Our moms and dads, maybe in their 60s or 70s. And then the people now, the kids now, totally different, right?
Yes, definitely. With my mom, she's 90 years old. So what I notice about the older generation is that they're so set in their ways already. And at the same time, maybe they've been programmed or conditioned to be who they are.
Yep.
So we can't really blame them because no one has really taught them other
Mhm.
than, like my mom, for example, she gave everything because that was her thing. It's her family, is her life pretty much. So
Mhm.
taking care of the kids, the whole family, making sure everybody is provided for. But what I'm seeing now is she expects to have that in return as she's getting into her. well, she's old now.
Hmm.
So I noticed that she wants to be taken care of just the same way as how was taking care of all of us.
Mm,
Um,
yes, it's an
so
expectation. That's actually the word for that.
yes,
Is an
yep,
expectation. Like I gave this to you, so you should give it to me. And
correct,
that's really setting yourself up for disappointment.
yep,
Unless, like, you know how the older folks, they don't really communicate that directly, right? They just don't.
see,
They don't say,
yep,
hey, I took care of you, so take care of me. They don't say it like that. That is not how they were brought up. They did it
correct,
through action. Ah,
correct,
okay. So that's interesting because if you're actually in a different phase in your life, let's say you are starting a business, it is like starting to have a family or having a baby, which requires three times or more energy than just being in a job. I mean, even if you go get a new job, usually the first few months, right? It's like training, orientation, learning the culture of the system. That's always the difficult portion, is the starting. But once you figured it out, everything kind of cruises a little bit smoothly, right? Totally different. And then how about, let's say your brothers and sisters that are older than you, like in their 60s or 70s, like or 50 to 70s. How are they when it comes to all these changes that's happening now, right? Because do you see any hesitation? Are they also set in their ways?
yeah. They're pretty much set in their ways.
Okay.
They go to work, they come home, they do their thing, they go to work. So that's like 24/7. I mean, 7 days a week. I can tell you I even know what they're gonna do the next day. That's how I know them.
So it's pretty
Um,
consistent. In other words,
yes,
rinse and repeat, rinse and
correct.
repeat. And that's
And
completely different than an entrepreneur's mindset, right?
correct.
It is
And
not rinse and repeat, people. If you are going from employee mindset, like it's regular, you can expect the same thing. When you go into entrepreneurship, it is not like that. Although there would be times that you really create the foundation, right? That's good in the beginning. When you know what that is, then you can have episodes of the rinse and repeat and then some playfulness also that
correct.
you build in.
Yep. And what I notice is, our family loves us so much, right? And
Mhm,
if you want to become a business owner, you can't rely or you can't listen to the one who's always been an employee. That's one thing that I learned becoming a business owner, because they don't
mhm,
know what you do, right? And you can't really blame them. They're just there to protect you because they're concerned about, hey, what are you going into? And that's because they love us. But the thing is, the people you hang out with who are business owners, you want to be like them. So you have
mhm,
the support system that you can listen to become
mhm.
successful in going to any business, right?
Yep.
So that's what I've seen. They try to stop me or they discourage me somehow, right? On their own ways. Sometimes
Well,
it's
because
so
they don't know.
indirect.
They don't
Exactly.
know what that means. Like, what is that
Yes.
business ownership? They only
Yep.
know of it's risky, it's
It's
scary.
hard.
It's
Yeah.
scary, it's hard because they don't know, right? They don't have a
Correct.
clue. So we can't really listen to people who never had that experience,
Correct.
unfortunately, because they've never been in the trenches. They don't know what that's like.
Right. And it is. I mean, for us who wants to become business owners, we know what we're going into, because we do this because we want to change our lives. We don't want to be the same as everybody else in our family. Because that's what I saw. Is like, unless I do something, some kind of change with me, the generation under me is not going to change. Or even the people that I'm supposed to be helping and leading, how is their lives going to change if I don't come out of,
Mhm.
where I was at?
Right, right. Okay, so I'm going to go share this again, another one. It says motivation gets you going. That is so true, that motivation, right? So sometimes I notice this in a lot of us. We wait for an emergency for us to change our lives. An emergency may be you get sick, Like in my case, in the past, the reason why I eventually chose to be a business owner was I had a TIA, like a warning sign for a stroke. So that is the metaphysical meaning of that is, do you really want to end your life or not? Or do you want to be this, put in this category of being disabled? And when I did a lot of soul searching, it was basically I wasn't happy where I was at. I loved my job as a physical therapist, right? But you know how when you love your job, but then you're not really getting the exchange satisfaction, so to speak. So that's really the key there. So I believe that life takes us and gives us all these experiences for a reason. So I've noticed that the emergency, because I've been in one, I know how to identify when someone is in an emergency. That's the reason, partly because some people don't make a decision until it's really last minute or it's too late. So when I look at my life, that is literally true. Like I sometimes wait for the last minute before I actually do something. So people will go, can you just prepare a little bit, right? And through my entrepreneurship, there are clients that gave me that feedback. So that also gave me a better way of doing things, right? So you're now combining who you are and then some of the suggestions of the clients so that you can deliver to them what they actually like to partake of, right? So you learn as you go, but your pattern, your way, you're not going to change it unless, I mean, think about it. If nobody complains, nobody, you don't know what's happening. So you actually receive feedback from the people you work with. And that's the beautiful thing about this. So it's not all, yes, there will be positive things and there will be negative things. But if majority of your life is really moving towards the positive, towards that end goal that you'd like to have, right? So it's easy to say, hey, I would like to make money. Let's say I would like to make $1 million. That's easy, right? I'm sure when you give somebody $1 million, if you don't know what to do with it, unfortunately, like those lottery winners, you lose it immediately. Actually, they say, I think the statistics show within 2 years or so, they lose everything. I mean, think about several millions of dollars that they just got, right? But because you don't have the muscles, the discipline to actually deal with it, so to speak, you're going to lose that too, unfortunately, right? So you have to have the discipline to really be this higher version of you. And we use a lot of human design. I know Pam and I, we taught this path and purpose blueprint. And I just want to share with you a little bit of what people said about it. For us, we were like the teachers and we were looking at the participants, right? One of them at first had so many questions. And it's fascinating because number one, when you don't know, it's like a new terminology. You're like, well, I need to know what this is because how is this going to fit in my life, so to speak, right? So from employee to entrepreneur transition. And it's fascinating because at about 4 to 6 weeks, she started being quiet and actually listening and understanding how herself, right, her human design fits in her life as she transitions. So Pam, would you like to give feedback on that one? Like, it was a fascinating, for me, it's like a miracle, how it evolved.
Correct. And
Oh,
it's so, you're right, it's so fascinating to just not see ourselves because we went through the same transformation as well. We just
mhm.
want everybody to experience it because human design is more of an experience. Because
Yes,
once you're consciously open and aware that you're looking for something, right? You're trying to clarify something within you, right? Your soul is actually looking for meaning or a purpose somehow too, right? And
yes.
it's funny how
Oh, you froze. I think Pam
designed
froze. Okay.
that, oh, that's how I am, and
Ah,
that's what I need to do.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then it just, like I said, it's just it's a great feeling to have, not just as a teacher, but also to hear it from, like we experience the same thing.
Got it.
So it's amazing to even share this with everybody. Like we,
Right.
we just want to share it with everyone.
Yes, yes. Okay, so I'm gonna just share what is that human design. So they're like, what are you talking about? Okay, so we shared this. This is actually Albert Einstein's human design, and we shared. So everybody gets to get their own human design, right? So no one is the same. No two people, even twins, are never the same. So we had them look at their profile, and you'll see these shapes inside, and shapes, square, triangles, right? And rectangles. Oh no, yeah, there's no rectangles, squares and triangles. And the right side personality is actually how people perceive you, and the design on the left side is your unconsciously, like, you have to discover that for yourself. So if you look at this as a journey, right, most literatures will tell you that it'll take 3 years or so. Some people say 7 years, right, depending on who you are. Because if you're truly, truly conditioned to be someone else that you're not, unfortunately, you will not see this as a welcome gift. I see it as a welcome gift because I can finally determine who I'm meant to be in this planet, right? So my sole purpose is right angle cross of penetration. So that my clients that come to me really want to seek the truth, not the truth based on religion, culture, or tradition, but really who they are, who they're meant to be in this planet. If they're meant to change the world, when you own that, that completely will change your life, right? So, like, for example, for me, my personality Jupiter happens to be power or leadership. So, when I am in a victim role, life doesn't work for me very well, whether it's personal or business. Okay. And it's so fascinating because it will give you a clue, like, where am I supposed to really be when it comes to 80% of my day? What am I supposed to be doing? Because if you know what that is, you're not going to waste your time. Let's say you are jumping from employee to entrepreneur, right? If you are meant to be, let's say, in management, well, then you're not going to do sales. You're not going to try to do the nitty gritty production, trying to be a control freak in every single part of your business, because that doesn't work, right? You put yourself where you need to be. That's your genius zone. It's kind of like you have a hat and that's all you're doing, right? So the more you're able to really just stay in your own lane, and again decide, who am I going to hire in order for this business to take off? Because it's like you're entering this phase of you're changing from an employee to entrepreneur. If you haven't decided that yet, when you jump, you're going to have some problems and you're going to have some challenges because you haven't really learned what that is. Like, what's that, right? So Pam, so let me remove this. I'm going to bring back Pam on the screen. Pam, I'm going to have you unmute. So Pam, I know that you've been with me a while and then now you're teaching other people about their human design in our Path and Purpose Blueprint, which, by the way, I was looking for something that would deliver something simple yet profound, right? Something simple wherein they were able to understand who themselves are, right? And then at the same time, what they're meant to do. So
Mm.
it's fascinating. To me, it's fascinating, the transformation within. I mean, it's a 90-day program, but halfway through, they're like quiet, silence. We see God in silence. When you go to church, you're actually quiet, right? There's music, there's the pastor or the priest, but a lot of times God doesn't show himself, herself until you're really like listening. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Now, instead of repeating the same thing over and over, when you finally have this document that tells you, okay, this is what I'm meant to do in this planet. I mean, I know with Pam, it was an eye opener, right? Can you share, Pam, like some of your trips to the beach and you just sit there and then you get these aha moments or downloads?
Yeah. So a lot of it, well, I guess just right now I'm getting like a lot of different information coming in my field now. So, but basically, sometimes because we I was always looking for a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
My purpose is the right angle cross of contagion. So
Mm-hmm.
basically, how they describe it is I'm provided with the resources all the time. I don't worry about money. That's pretty much my right angle cross is what's telling me. And at the same time, I can actually spark interest in people about concepts or ideas. And
Mm-hmm.
I've seen that in myself over time, but not until I started knowing more or learning more about human design, where I'm like, oh, no wonder. Because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I also have the gate of, and we don't know this, but I feel like everybody around me are, you know, kind of becoming successful in their ways, right? When
Mm-hmm.
they're around me. And then I'm like, how come they're doing so good, And then for me, like I'm still the same and I feel like I'm still, fighting or struggling somehow. But then when I learn about that particular gate, it's actually gate 14. I'm like, oh, okay, so that's why. But now,
Mm-hmm.
now that I know about that gate, like, well, taken because I'm a projector, so for me, I have to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of just kind of looking at, you know, the others how they're successful or how their lives are being changed, I can
Yep.
also because they're in my circle, I can also
Mm-hmm.
take that in as part of my success to make me feel successful, right? And that
Yes.
changes the energy in me, right?
Yes.
Although
Yes.
before I didn't know, so but now that I'm aware
Mm-hmm.
of it, you're more conscious, right? Because
Yep.
we're going into an era of individuality. So that's why I think that's why we're here because we want people to know themselves.
Yeah.
And that's what, the energy work and human design has given to me is I'm finding myself and who I am because I've been programmed so many different ways. I have a lot of open centers
Right.
where now it makes sense why I'm so conditioned the way how my parents are, the culture, environment. But now
Mm-hmm.
that I know and I'm still experimenting, learning about the different gates, it's so much, what do you call it? It's like a breath of fresh air to know that, hey, this is who you are. And regardless of what happens, as long as you stay true to yourself,
Mm-hmm.
anything can happen around us and, you'll be okay. So
Awesome.
that's my take on that. Yep.
Wow. Thank you for that. So I know that we're going to be doing, for some of you that are really in their head, right? You want to know, yeah, it's good. There's some spiritual, etheric stuff. But obviously, when you're jumping from employee to entrepreneurship, you want to have some form of a path, right? You want to be able to clarify, well, how am I going to make money doing what I love, right? So that's one thing. The faith has to be there, the trust within yourself and your connection to the divine, to God, that you are in the right place at the right time. Because I was talking to someone that I met through my E&E inner circle, and she's like, I've heard of this human design. Like, you're the third person. So for me, that's a sign from the universe. If I've heard it 3 times, I'm going to go find out a little bit more about it, right? And obviously, like I said, so my prosperity key is leadership or power. For Pam, it's actually, was it celebration, Pam? She
Yes,
have
it's celebration.
celebration. So in other words, for her, every single day, she needs to celebrate her life, celebrate her wins, celebrate her successes. However that is, it could be you thought about somebody will give me a free drink and then you got a free drink. Those are the ways to celebrate, right? It doesn't have to be big because if you can't celebrate the little things in your life, like let's say you're walking down the street meditating and you found a 25-cent coin or a 10-cent coin. You gotta celebrate because like the universe just gave you something, right? So those are little things that when you actually start doing it every day, you will notice that there are bigger things to celebrate later, right? But that's the key there is you got to know what it is that you are celebrating or what are you going to be recognized for. Because if you don't know that that's meant for you, you're going to try to be like me, be the leader of something when that wasn't the way for you to make money. It could be just maybe you need support and hire other people or do something simple, and that's your business. It doesn't have to look like the same as mine, right? So that's what you learn when you find out your human design and apply it accordingly in your life, right? Now, we started thinking about this. So for those people that are in their head, they do need to clarify, like, what is my path? I want to make more money, but I don't know how. So obviously, we're going to talk about, I'm going to share with you this clarify your money magnet position, because when a person can look at their bigger vision and then they can actually distill that to, okay, this is what I need to do, step 1, 2, 3, in order for me to achieve that goal. Now your ego starts to calm down, your mind starts to be quiet because there's something to do now. There's something for you to execute. Okay, there's something for you to feel good about. And by the way, when you have little wins, this I told you, like with Pam, she could be picking up a 10-cent coin, and that's a little win for her for the day. We got to find what that is. So things like, what is it that you need to know as far as your monthly business expense? Or what is it you need to know about your monthly personal expense? Because that's the first error I see in people doing business is they mix personal and business. If you don't know what that is, you're going to be so confused. It's going to be hard to expand because you don't know the difference. There's no boundary, right? Your personal expense becomes your business expense and vice versa, which is not going to work. I can just tell you that. So you have to know what that is, and you have to know how many sales, and some people even don't like the word sales or selling, and who is the first hire, right? Like, how do you know you need to hire already versus do it all by yourself? If you are not anchored in your own values, you don't know what's important to you. What's important to me may not be the major three things that are important to you. So instead of comparing, you actually go to your human design, right? Figure out what it is that you need to really give importance to based on you, not based on me, but based on you. Now you can design the life you would like to have because there's an outline, there's a path, right? Before you even go into creating your products and services. Now, obviously, some people are lucky. They create something and then boom, suddenly it just takes off, right? But there's a risk. There's always a risk on that part. If you're a kid, like I remember myself, right, when I was a kid, and Pam, you can probably relate. Like when I was a kid, I just want to go out in the rain. Okay. Don't ask me why. I just like the feeling of being in the rain, naked, like, no top, until, of course, my mom says, hey, you're already an adult. Like, you shouldn't do that. You should go out with a shirt. But I was very bold and like everything that people don't want to do, I kind of like, I wonder what that feels like. And I would experience it for myself so then I can say, oh, that's how it feels like. Even if you read it on the newspaper or a book, or you saw it on a TV show, some people like me, I need to feel it. I need to experience it in order for me to say, that's what it's like, right? So most entrepreneurs, I can tell you, even if you're an employee right now, you don't like too many rules. You actually want to have your own set of rules, right? Like you have your own way of doing things. And when that's so stifled, like people like stop you, stop you, stop you, you're going to get smaller and smaller and shrink. So Pam, we just did our new moon healing last time. How does it feel being small versus really you, like the higher version of you? Is there a difference in the feeling?
Yes, yes, definitely. Because I was, even the size of it, I was, what's the word that I'm looking for? um, I was comparing it to how I was feeling. So being small, it's like I'm not seen. No one, notices me. I have the fear, right? Because everything is so big around me. But when
Ah,
you
like
change it to
Alice in
being
Wonderland.
big, yeah. So then when you said like now you're like big, it's like, oh, well, I can conquer the world. I can do whatever, what I'm meant
Confidence
for
came
to do
in.
here.
Yep.
Yes.
The
Yep.
confidence came in. That's the difference, right? Yeah, when you
Yeah.
have confidence, it's a completely different energy.
Yep.
Because whatever your mindset, like you've decided already, right? Now, sometimes the question is, when am I going to do this? So, when we clarify your money magnet position, obviously, you're going to have an outline, right? A pathway of where you need to go. Because if you don't know that, unfortunately, you'll always freeze or get paralyzed when you step again with one other foot because there's nothing at the end. It's kind of like there's no finish line. If somebody in the Olympics says, "Oh yeah, you guys just run," and then they're like, Where are we gonna run? Do you know how you can run to the right, to the left? Like there's no set path. So how are you gonna run when there's no goal? So when you clarify your money magnet position, you're going to be able to understand, okay, who you are, what are your values. You're going to know and have a breakdown of, okay, these are my expenses at home, and this is how much money I need to make. If you know that, that alone itself is worth a lot already, because then you can move forward. You won't be paralyzed, right? And then when you figure out, okay, these are my business expenses, and then who do I need? Because if you really don't have that skill, it's good to hire someone with that skill to help you with it, right? So when you know, like, okay, this is the next step, and then when I've done that, what's the second step? And then you're gonna get to succeed. Obviously, decide, commit, succeed, right? But you cannot achieve that feeling of success unless it's like, okay, this is the first thing I'm gonna do, the second thing, and the third thing. Your mind will look for that. I can tell you. Because I take my people a lot on quantum leaps, but then they're like, but some of them they would go back and try to like, but what happened? What steps did we take to get there? So now we're on to the steps, right? Because they gave me feedback. They can't just jump from the first floor to the 10th floor. They feel like they left somebody behind on the second, third, fifth, seventh floor, on their way up. So once you have a step by step, and we're putting it in bite-sized pieces, now you can go to another level of your life, right? Cool. All right, so let me see if we have any questions or comments. Oh, Lisa says hi from Newport Beach. Hi, Lisa. Thanks for watching. All right, so I'm going to share with them when is this clarify your money magnet position. It's actually a class we're doing next week, Tuesday and Thursday, right? So the first day is the educational piece, right? And then actually we're going to, there you go, clarify your money magnet position. It's kind of small, right? So this is all about removing your confusion. So for those of you who really want to be an entrepreneur, you got to remove the confusion because that's the enemy of your success, right? And if you can have emotional stability during your transition, I mean, think about this, you guys. This year of COVID and last year, it's all transition. If you don't feel emotionally stable, a lot of people break down or a lot of people died, right? And creating a financial plan for your sense of clarity and, let me see, success, right? During your leap. So you have to feel safe, right? That's the number one thing. I mean, if you think of yourself as a baby and you never felt safe as a child, you're going to bring that when you grow up, unfortunately. You're going to bring it in your relationships, you're going to bring it in your business also. So that feeling of safety has to be there because that's what will give you stability and groundedness. If you don't feel safe within your own skin, that's a problem. If you don't feel safe around your relatives or the people you live with in your house, that's not going to feel good to you. So it's going to be like building a business out of sand, like when you're building a castle on sand, it'll collapse because you don't feel safe and stable. That is the number one thing when it comes to making money. So if you can dig inside your heart right now yourself, if your head is saying, I'm in danger, I'm on an emergency alert, that's part of the reason why you don't make the money. It doesn't come to you because you don't feel safe having it. Does that make sense? Any feedback on that, Pam? What's your take on that?
No, that's so true because it does affect your personal life affects your business.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why having the clarity, with what you're with the class that you're offering, it's just gonna help you in moving forward with what you want to do, right?
Right.
So it's definitely, yeah. It even if sometimes we don't think that it's gonna affect us. Oh,
Mhm.
believe me, there are a lot of hidden stuff that affects us that sometimes we don't even know.
Now this is funny though because complexity is the enemy of simplicity, right? And some of us like to feel complex, like we make our lives so complicated because there's something hidden and we don't want to face it. That's really part of it. So once you face that within yourself, it will change the way you receive money. Life doesn't have to be complicated unless you are afraid to face something deep within you that you can't handle. Once you've actually faced kind of like the devil on its face, right? Right in front of you. If you think that was the devil, right? If you think that was bad, well, you got to go face to face with it because that's the only truth the truth that will come out of it is you would know exactly who you are, what you're made of, and what you're meant to be. So we're going to do this next week on Tuesday from 5 to 6:30 p.m. So that's the educational portion and really like looking at your finances and what do you want to do with your life, your business, right? And then on August 19th from 1 to 2:30 p.m., we're going to have our coaches available. So our team has financial coaches, we have business coaches, and we have marketing coaches. So there may be part of your business that you couldn't like look straight in the eye or face to face or yourself, right? And that might be your wake up call to really have an understanding of what that is. Okay. And if you guys go to viviandeguzman.com /clarify money magnet. So the link is there. We are inviting you to this webinar, right, on the 17th so that you can actually create the business of your dreams. So it has to match your design, right? Your human design. If you don't know what that is, you can go to humandesignamerica.com and get a free report. So by the time you join in on the 17th, you actually know what you need to be facing. Okay, so please do that. Take a look at your free report and then join us on Tuesday at 5 o'clock Pacific time, 5 p.m. Pacific time. It's called Clarify Your Money Magnet Position. If you're really serious about making money, right? And if you can release all your limiting beliefs on how to do this, the thing is, if you only look at one thing, but then you're not looking at other things, then it's not a complete view. It's not a 360-degree view, right? But when it's funny, like Pam was saying, when she actually shares her gifts and talents with others, they figure out how to make money. Isn't that cool? I have the same gate. I have the gate 14. I actually have 4 money gates. That's why people that hang out with me somehow figure things out, right? When it comes to making money and attracting that with ease. That's the key there. So, all right. I'm going to invite you guys again Tuesday, the 17th, and Thursday to be with our experts, panel of experts. If you would like to have a look at how you're doing in your business or in your life, maybe you really want to jump from employee to entrepreneurship, or you've been an entrepreneur, but you're really not making money, this might be really a good opportunity for you to be with our team. All right. Well, thank you, Pam, for being here.
Thank you for inviting me, and thank you everyone for listening.
Yes, yes. And we're going to do another episode of Path and Purpose Blueprint in September, end of September. So, for those of you that are thinking about that journey, like 90 days hanging out with Pam and I, and actually Vienna, our emotion code practitioner, that might be a good opportunity for you to join the bandwagon at this time, right? Because you're going to learn hands on healing tools. You're going to learn yourself a little deeper about your human design and how to navigate that in your business. And Vienna will clear a lot of your negative emotions that's stopping you from truly being the successful person that you want to be, the satisfied person, and the peaceful person you want to become. Okay? All right. Well, thank you, everyone. And bye for now. I'll see you again next week for another episode of My Spiritual Money RX. Bye.